Okay, we're good to go. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I am so excited to have Leslie here as my guest in Cup of Gratitude Conversations to Inspire and Uplift. And Leslie has certainly been one of those people for me since I first met her many years ago with the Women Inspiring Women conferences. So those were always a wonderful event. So, anyways,
Mhm.
so for the new faces here, I am Lisa Berman. I'm a life coach, a mindset coach with a focus on joy and gratitude. I support others in living a life in alignment with, in harmony with their values, their vision, and their goals. And so I do um, different courses. I do one-on-one coaching. I have a newsletter. I have my cup of gratitude. So I kind of do lots of different things. And I can be found at, I have a Facebook page, Lisa Berman Life Coach, and on Instagram, I'm Saturday underscore sunrise. Um, and so I'm just so excited. Leslie is founder, for those who don't know, she's founder of Women Inspiring Women. That is the largest New Hampshire-based women's empowerment organization. And so Leslie hosted the Women Inspiring Women conferences and holds all kinds of different, um, what do you call them?
Events and programs.
Events.
Yes.
Events.
Soirees. Get-togethers.
Get-togethers, yes. So really focus on personal development, resources, networking, and then, like I was saying, having fun. So always a fun time with Leslie.
Thank
so,
you.
anyways, and her greatest joy is really helping others achieve their dreams, and she does a lot of that through a lot of the events that she's puts on. So how can people find you, Leslie? What are some of the best ways of finding you?
The website's always a good place. There's a contact form on there, but it's womeninspiring.com. And there's a Facebook community and also myself personally on LinkedIn and Facebook. Women Inspiring Women, I think, is the Facebook handle.
Yeah. So, yes. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. Um, we can just kind of maybe take a moment to just kind of take a couple breaths and just kind of
Mm.
center. I think for all of us, we're transitioning from kind of fullness of the day to some quiet time. So if you want to just take a moment to just breathe. And so, my intention with Cup of Gratitude is to really provide a safe, warm space that is uplifting, inspiring, where we're able to come together and talk about gratitude. I bring in different guests. Um, my hope is that you walk away from the call today with kind of a new appreciation for gratitude, maybe some new ideas on how you might want to practice gratitude or what gratitude means to you, how it can be applied to your life. So it's really a fun thing because every guest I have has different ideas and different approaches, and it just kind of blows my mind. It's always fun. I come away with new ideas every time. So um, I guess Leslie, why don't we just kind of start with the question, kind of what does gratitude mean to you? Because right, it means so many different things to so many different people. So kind of what does that mean to you? Because I hear it come from you all the time, you know?
It does. And sorry if I keep looking over here. I've got tons of notes because this is kind of a new topic for me to be talking about. Usually I talk about um,
Empowerment.
empowerment, inspiration, motivation, that type of thing. Although gratitude is part of it.
Yes.
So what gratitude means for me is basically just it's a way of life. It's a feeling, it's an appreciation. It's being present to things that are going on around me and people that I'm engaging with, and um, just the little things. It's for me, it's when it invokes all the senses, sight, smell, sound, like all of that. It's an awareness and an appreciation.
Mhm.
That kind of sums it up, I think.
Yeah, I love that, right? Kind of evokes all of the senses. And I think that is true. That it's been an interesting conversation I've had with people recently, just kind of about how, right, it taps into all of the senses or most of the senses kind of when you're in that space.
And I think when we're practicing gratitude too, like really practicing and having a mindfulness about it, it's very peaceful and
Mhm.
calming.
Yeah,
Um, so for me, it's become a way of life, especially the last 12 years or so.
that's 12 years.
Hmm.
So, well, that brings up, I was going to say, have you always kind of been a person of gratitude? Because there are people out there. Or was there a time that just kind of something going on, a time in your life where you went, oh, gratitude,
Mhm.
let's see how it can help me out? Or, was there a time, Leslie, that,
Like I said, for the last 12 years or so, it's been a bigger part of my life. And I think it started with experiencing a lot of loss. I had like three big losses right in a row, and one being my dad, 12 hours before the New Hampshire Conference for Women. And so
yes,
I got to really feel gratitude and appreciation when, that day. Um, but it came from realizing that the next, we're never given another day. We might not live to see tomorrow. Time is precious. So let's really slow down and really just appreciate, carve out time, create the life that we want, just because you're never guaranteed that we're going to be here tomorrow. So it was through that loss that um, it
that
just kind of calmed me down a little bit and said, okay, you're at this point, I was like 48 years old or whatever, that I still hopefully have a long life left to live and make it meaningful and be more present instead of running through life with my hair on fire, rather than being like go all the time and goal achieving and growing a business and community volunteering and all of that. It was um, a wake up call kind of to just settle down a little bit.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how does it play a role in your life now, Leslie? What is it? Because, right, you're saying that you kind of just live it, right? And so, do you have a practice, or what does it look like for you, kind of in the day to day gratitude?
Well, I generally haven't had any practices of any kind, to be
Yeah,
honest. Like,
no,
um,
yeah, you're not the only guest I've had
yeah,
that hasn't had a.
and it's interesting because, well, it's a couple of different things here. One is that I'm surrounded by people who are doing this type of work, personal development, um, self-help, whatever you want to call it, professional development. So I'm surrounded by, um, by design. This is what I wanted to have in my life. And everyone is, talking about these different things like journaling and meditation and vision boards and all this other stuff. So I never really had a practice until recently where I actively was journaling, and I got these massive vision boards over there that I just created because, I've tried everything on a small scale before, but I never like took it seriously and went, I am going to develop a practice. And I was doing this all at the same time. So it's become kind of like a manifestation experiment that I've been having. And it started with that. And it was so big, I had to create a little baby one next to it. And that's 36 by 48, the big one. And then the little one is just about women inspiring women, which is part of the big one too. But I went a little nutty with the vision board. But at the same time, I was studying a little bit more about manifestation. I was journaling a lot more about what I was learning about manifestation, but also what was coming up for me through all of this process. And I don't know if I said meditation, but meditation, journaling, vision board, just being still, even more than I already was, but being still and quiet was a skill that I had developed in the last 12 years, that I didn't always need to be stimulated. But I've been doing more of this. And when I did the vision boards, this all happened around April 15th is when I started this practice. And so far I'm kind of digging it. The one thing so some of the things that I've done about gratitude, though, as it relates to this new practice I'm trying to implement, is to just sort of sit in silence and just notice what's around me.
Yeah.
So it's really when I'm telling myself, okay, this is what you're doing right now. You're gonna sit here, be present, feel the breeze wherever I happen to be. So the first day I did this was on May 6th, which happened to be the anniversary of my mother's death. So I had a cup of coffee, which is something that she loved, and I just was sitting there appreciating having coffee with her, and I wish I could do that still, but I wasn't coming from a place of sadness anymore. I was coming from a place of gratitude. Like, how lucky was I to live to be 50 years old and still have my mother, who she didn't have that luxury and all of those stuff. So I was sitting out on my deck. It was a gorgeous day, and I'm looking at my pool, remembering my mother, who used to come over and swim all the time, and we'd have coffee on the deck, 90-degree temperatures after we swam. But it was like our thing. So I said, I'm going to do a little experiment here, and I'm going to just notice what's going on around me. I'm going to feel, I'm going to see, I'm going to, whatever comes up for me, I'm just going to be 100% present. So I made a list of everything that was coming up for me. So I just wanted to share a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back to what I kind of learned from this. But so in like 15 minutes of just really being present and looking around me, I'm like, I was so grateful to have had such amazing parents. I was so grateful for the coffee I was drinking, the beautiful deck I was sitting on. The grass was incredibly green because we had a lot of rain. I was remembering time with friends. Wendy was one of them, of pool and deck time and all the many laughs that we had out there. I was listening to some patriotic country music, and it was amazing. So again, all my senses are like heightened during this whole process too. It was amazing. I'm like, this is really cool. It's like a tidal wave coming at me. And so I was listening to this country patriotic playlist that I just happened to find. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's, how lucky are we to, live where we live. I'm sitting here in beautiful New Hampshire that most people save all year to come to on vacation. Listening to this patriotic and thankful for the military that I know. I was, this is going to sound funny, but I was grateful that I learned how to be more present. Because it really does come down to the little things. Like, I'm like, wow, I'm kind of really liking this being present thing. So that was funny. I'm grateful for gratitude and presence. Friends were messaging me all morning, and some of them were getting together at this vintage market, which was run by one of my friends, and these other people met through me, and they were going to that together. So I'm like, oh, I just love how my community is and the connections. And at the same time this was going on, I was getting messages on my phone from another friend who was in the process of saying goodbye to her mother from lung cancer. And that was all kind of happening at the same time. So I'm providing support to her. But still, I was thinking about her mom, who I had met, and I loved her. So that was coming in. Facebook memories that kept popping up, which, as much as people complain about social media, having the memories is really cool. Like this song had come up and some memories of my mother. Also some raw stuff about, tonight I have to let go of that. So that brings you back to a time and a place too, but it all good. I was just thinking about those who guided me in this journey so far. So all of that in the span of like 15 minutes. And I wasn't purposely going like, all right, I should come up with 3 more. I wasn't doing that. It was just like coming at me so fast, I could barely write it down. And it was, again, like a tsunami. It was just coming at me. And and then finally I'm like, that was exhausting, but exhilarating. And so again, this is sort of a new practice for me of doing it like this. And I've been doing it a little bit since then, pulling up Evernote or something in my phone and, logging it in there or writing a piece of paper and putting that in my phone case so that I can document it later. Kind of what Jim's daughter was doing, where she was writing it down for 1,000 some odd days. So you can go back and look at it too.
Yeah.
So I thought Evernote would be a good thing because I could pull it up on my phone, do it wherever I happen to be.
Right.
Um, and I did try doing it like once a day, but I
Hmm.
found I was struggling with it because I would write, I'm grateful for my friends. Well, I'm grateful for my friends every minute of every day. So I was like, I was having like because I was living the day and I was so present in it, I had a hard time like remembering it at night what had happened all day long to write down
Hmm.
my list of things I was grateful for or things I appreciated during that day. So
Yeah.
by doing it as I went, it also made me be more present and mindful and calmer and slower. And then I would take time to write it. And then, so instead of doing it once a day or the next morning or whatever it is, I've just been kind of doing it as I feel inspired to do it. Um,
I love that, Leslie, because I think, right, there's so many different ways that it can be done, and what works for one person doesn't work for another. And that's what I love about this is hearing different ways that different people practice. And I think that I love that, just kind of that sitting still and just kind of, right, it's almost like it was a form of meditation for you, Leslie, just the way that it kind of, the pieces kind of came flooding in for you. Just really is 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 so cool. You just were fully present and open to receiving kind of what came to you. And but that's how you are, Leslie. Like that is, like when you're on a stage speaking, you're that way too. I mean, so it's kind of
Thank you.
yeah, yeah.
Well, it was interesting because in that few minutes that I was doing that, it was just again coming at me so quickly that I couldn't even um it just I can't even describe it. It was the weirdest, most wonderful feeling though, because I was starting to feel joy and gratitude for all the people that taught me how to do all this. Like the
Hmm.
people that have inspired me to, to try the journaling and the women that are in the Women Inspiring Women community who are always talking about like different things that they're working on or trying or
Yeah.
whatever it is. And gratitude, because this is, like I said, a relatively new topic for me to talk about, I wasn't really understanding, I guess, that that was at the base of everything.
Mhm.
That instead, trying to manifest like wealth or whatever it is, that be more like mindful of gratitude and abundance um and that type of thing. And I just wasn't aware that gratitude was sort of the foundation of everything. I didn't know that was the term for it. I'm late to the party. I didn't know that was the term for like and I was I one thing I do want to pass along to your viewers is that the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yes.
And I think everyone here probably knows that because some are from my group. So um is that they're the ones that, if they're low vibe people, then you're just going to kind of be a low vibe person. When you're around the right people and you're having the right conversations or even having naughty conversations and you're just laughing, it's all so much fun. And and you bring up these types of things and you learn what's working for people and what isn't. So I've been very blessed to spend a lot of time with people that this is what they teach other people to do. So it's kind of funny, like I don't know why I wasn't taking their advice before. Like I wasn't ready, I guess. Like I wasn't ready to do that big board back there. I mean, I've tried it before, but then I just like put it away and go. Some of it I actually cut up and I put on that one. I repurposed, you
Well,
know.
that's funny. Right, right, right. I know you've got some vision board people in your community, so
I do. So finally I decided I should listen to them. So the vision, but anyway, they were saying come at this manifestation of like financial wealth or increased business or whatever it might be a different way. And so when they were kind of explaining like gratitude being the base of it, I'm like, okay, it's finally hitting home, I think. And but it's something that I've always done. Um I've always been very expressive about um, how I'm feeling towards someone. I've been very demonstrative. So that always just came pretty easily to me. Um, and conveying my gratitude and thoughts and things like that. But it was, um, I guess it's given me just peace, like being more present of just feeling all the feels and um, realizing, I guess, that that is kind of the basis because, um, my attitude is such that, I, then the people I'm around never play the victim. We know that we're responsible for our lives. And yeah, it's, so this is all new to me, kind of, Lisa, although
But
I've been doing it.
but it's not new to you. But you know what? You've made a really important connection here, Leslie, that has not ever been brought to this community. And that is kind of gratitude as that underlying piece for, for manifesting and right. And it's having gratitude that brings us joy or happiness. It's not happiness that gives us gratitude. And so I think that connection, Leslie, of gratitude being kind of that underlying kind of piece of so many of the kind of the wellness community kind of, manifesting or, or joy or, all of those pieces, I think is a really important connection to make, Leslie. So I think that's
Well,
a huge takeaway, I think,
I can thank my posse for that one because, um,
So, and Leslie, I know you mentor a lot of women, and, and you bring in some really neat people speaking, but when you are mentoring others, kind of within your community or outside your community, um, do you ever talk to them about gratitude? Have you ever kind of coached them around that? Or how is it that you kind of are supporting others in kind of creating that life that they want, besides pulling in these amazing speakers that you've
well, I
had?
haven't necessarily talked about gratitude because that's kind of new
Good.
to me at
Yep.
this different level.
Yep.
But I've always come from a place of everybody's 100% responsible for their lives. And Wendy
Jack.
and I have had this conversation. What's that? Jack Canfield, chapter one, success principles.
My favorite book.
Yes, mine too. And that we're responsible for how we react, what we allow in and out. Like when you really think about it, you know, there's certain things we can't control, like the weather. But we can control that with the fact that we live here in New Hampshire and the weather's crappy. Like we could choose to move someplace else. We don't have to, so it's a choice that um, we can't, the weather's going to be the weather, but our only thing that we're responsible for is where we position ourselves and have to deal with that, for example. So, Jack's thing is the 100% responsible for your life. And it's our thoughts, our words, our actions, our reactions, and all of that. So, that's usually where I start with people, just that, I think gratitude comes easier for us that don't sort of have a victim mentality or like the world's out to get me. I think most people that just gratitude's part of their day-to-day life, it's um, life is good. We just reframe it. It's not toxic positivity, but
But
it's
it's
just
that
real.
reframe, because even
Yes,
with the weather, you can grumble about the rain or be grateful that it's watering the lawn, it's watering the plants, I mean, so it's a reframe so that you're not grumbly about things, so
right. So I think for me, when I'm mentoring people, or whether it's helping them to start or grow a business or, you know, create the life that they want or whatever, it does come down to choices and their attitude about it, which I think most people, at least if they're grateful human beings and they go through life and they appreciate things and they comment about it and just show gratitude, that they're not the negative people that are like low vibe. They tend to be higher vibe people, which so I think some of the people that I mentor maybe are in rough places. They're not necessarily the victim all the time. They're
Right.
seeking out help. They're seeking out
Right.
like tools and
Yep.
resources to create the
Yep.
life that they want. So it's really just getting clear with them about,
Hmm.
you have this beautiful life. What do you want it to be?
Right. Right.
And working through that. And talking about the importance too of um, downtime. Um, I think that's something that I think that's something we figure out as we get older too, like the importance of that, and that we don't need to be going all the time, nor do we want to be going all the time. We don't want a lot of information coming at us and loud noises and things like that. We appreciate the downtime. So my advice is always slow down and get super clear about what you want. And sometimes that's from, create a list of things you don't want,
Yeah.
like especially if it's a job or something. Sometimes it's easier to arrive at clarity by figuring out what you don't want
Yeah.
versus what you do want.
Yeah.
Um, so part of that process is doing brain dumps. For me, I've just always been a list maker, so that has come easily to me to like get everything out of my head and down on paper.
Yes.
And then it kind of takes shape from that. But um, telling people that they can say no, um, to free up their schedule to do the things that matter. And again, I think a lot of people, and I'm still a work in progress about that too, where we say yes to things, or we forget that we have choices, and we don't have to say no to things if we don't want to. And no is a complete sentence. I think Wendy's been good for me in that respect, where she's like, you don't have to give them an excuse. It's just no, thank you, or
Yeah.
um, you know, I won't be able to join, or I won't be joining you because
Right.
I could have, but I don't want to. So it's just
Right.
like stop and don't get into explanations. So,
Right.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's interesting because sometimes we do need that reality check, and I am very blessed and grateful that I have friends that will call me out on it, and they're very direct because they all know that we're not doing each other any favors if we're
Mhm.
just sugarcoating something, or um, blunt works.
Right.
It might sting, and you might go, "Oh God, that was a teachable moment," um, but we're not doing any favors by sugarcoating it with our friends.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're coming from a place of love too. So you're like, "You're right.
Mhm.
Remind me next week of the same thing you
Right.
told me today." Like,
And I may need it even one more reminder,
yeah.
right?
Um, so anyway, I just basically tell people to do the things that I've always done over the years, which is doing brain dumps, getting things out of my head and onto paper, just reminding themselves that they're in control of their schedule. And again, they're like, "Oh, I can't do this, I can't do that," and you know, I
Yeah.
think when we slow down, we realize I don't have to do all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
people really don't slow down and enjoy their lives.
Right.
I mean, maybe we're all a little older, so
Right.
it's a
Right.
little easier now, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. What are some of your favorite ways, or how do you kind of demonstrate or express gratitude? Do you have any? And right, I get that this is kind of a new thing, but I know you, Leslie, so I have to think that there's ways where you expressed your gratitude without thinking that you're expressing your gratitude, but you
Right.
just,
Well, I was listening to Randy Pierce's interview with you,
mhm.
and he kind of alluded to, I think it was Randy that said this, that don't just say, you know, you're a good friend, like point out what it is about them that
Yes,
you love. So I think it was Randy that said that. So,
it
and don't
would be
just
a
say, well,
Randy thing.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Don't, well, Randy's one of the ones I learned from. So,
yes,
um, and don't just say, well, I love my house. Well, what about your house do you like? So again, it's like slowing down and being more present. Like I love how the sun comes in the window in the morning.
yeah,
Another thing that I had done when I was sitting outside on May 6th is and this reminded me because the sun was coming in and hitting my dog at a certain angle one day, um, and I was just thinking, this little girl is a fighter. She couldn't walk for months and months and months, and I almost had to put her down several times. So when I see her laying there in the sun, like almost smiling, or running across my deck, even though she shouldn't be running, but the fact that she can run, like, and like the wind was blowing, and she looked like she was smiling. So, so rather than saying, well, I like my house, well, what is it you like about your house? So if a friend does something, um, be specific about what it is. Not all, you don't have to do it all the time, but I mean, um, and Randy also said something about how he was apologizing when somebody was inconvenienced, having to wait for him to get in the car and with his dog and everything. And I thought his approach was feeling gratitude. I'm grateful that um, you didn't mind the extra time, kind of thing.
Right, right.
Instead of apologizing because it's nothing he could control.
Right. I think that reframes were a big piece of
Yes.
big piece for Randy. So
So I
yeah.
think again, I'm surrounded by, at this stage in my life, the right people that are expressing gratitude and being demonstrative and affectionate is just a way of life for us.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing too is that um, we don't do any sort of flybys, as we call them. Like if we're gonna hug one another, we go all in, and it's a hug. Like you feel it. It might get a little weird, but you're engaging and you're feeling it. And when you say "I love you," you're not going, "Oh, I love you, bye." I mean, we might do that, but 99% of the time, and we do say it all the time, is being very present and saying it.
Yeah.
Instead of just like, sometimes when you have a problem and you do this too much when you're saying goodbye to some stranger or whatever. Okay, love you, bye. And it's just routine. And
Right.
when you say it to a stranger, you're like, oops. So we don't do any of that. Everything we do is intentional and with love and very present.
I
Um,
love and that intentional piece. That's kind of been one of those words on my mind a lot lately, is just kind of the importance of being intentional about things. So yeah.
yes. So we're very much into like long, awkward, fantastic hugs. We are very touchy feely. Um, because it's just we all know that feeling when someone just reaches over and touches your hand or whatever. We're notoriously good at like holding hands when we're driving down the road or on a plane, or well, when we're in transportation, I guess. Although sometimes sitting on the deck too, we'll just like hold hands or just come up behind someone. We just are so demonstrative, and so yeah, just words, using our words and using our bodies and all of that. Of course, little gifts and little jokes and things are always important. And but yeah, I just don't think people slow down and appreciate it
Mhm.
and express it.
Yeah.
Some of my friends, and I don't know if you do this, Lisa, but I know you have friends that do, is hug heart to heart. And that's the type of hug you really have to stop and think about, like, wait a minute, how do we do this? Like, so you're even more mindful and grateful because it's like, the heart to heart hug is just kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
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 You know, I'm going to turn the tables on you. I don't know what kind of gratitude practice you have.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, actually, a lot of times I do talk about my gratitude practice when we talk about gratitude practices. So every morning, most every morning, um, I journal. So I journal three things that I'm grateful for, um, kind of reflecting on the day before, but I do it kind of in that detail, so that you can kind of feel it, kind of deal. Um, so there's that, and then I do another three things I'm grateful for, but it is really more in the I lost the word. Um, mm, I lost the word. So things that I want to happen in the future. It's a word we've been using tonight.
Oh,
So
manifest.
thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
So kind of those, but it's a different word that I was thinking of, but that's the idea. Kind of those things that I want to manifest or that I want to attract into my life. So I kind of write those things down. Like and one of my favorite stories is so a year ago today, well, a year ago on the 14th, we went to Italy, my family of five. And so probably from January to May, part of my gratitude journaling was how grateful I was for our trip to Italy, the family of five, for safe travels, no issues with housing, kind of lots of love and laughter. Like, and it was a fantastic time. And it was just one of those, like, that was, if it wasn't daily, it was definitely one of those things that kind of manifested. It was that, we had wonky, some weird flight stuff, but no, like we had a bolt to catch the flight, but they held the flight. We had no real issues at all. All three kids got along.
That's a
So
miracle.
yeah. So those are kind of those are my gratitude practices that are um full on. And I've been doing that for I don't know how long anymore, for years now.
Do you
So
do an affirmation every day too?
yeah, actually I do one now, right? That's a relative, so that started somewhere within my cup of gratitude kind of, right? I learn new things from people. So that so my manifestation gratitude piece is new since I started doing cup of gratitude because that was something somebody did. That might be Randy. Um Yeah, he was gonna show up. He couldn't, he was gonna come tonight, but anyways, and then I started kind of one for each day. So
Mhm.
kind of, grateful for, and a lot of that is about how I want to feel and what I want to experience. It's not so much a to-do list, but kind of how I want to be in the day. Yeah.
So doing affirmations and what's the other one? Intentions.
Yes.
That
Yeah,
was a
so
tough
that's
word.
more of an that's more of an intention than
Yeah.
an affirmation though,
So
right?
part of my experiment has been doing both of those, an affirmation and an intention for the day. And I thought, just like gratitude, it's something that was just sort of part of my day. And it
Yeah,
wasn't, I don't know, I found writing it down to be disingenuous almost. It was like a boring blank statement because it's stuff I say to myself all the time. Like, so I
right.
don't know why it's not disingenuous. It just seemed like maybe I wasn't doing it
Flat.
right. Yeah. What's that?
Flat.
Yeah, that's
You
a good
just
word. So I even printed out like these things that say, here's some sample affirmations, like here's some sample intentions. And I'm like, because, I have a morning routine and that's like the only practice I guess I have, and that's fluid. But I always kind of know, like when I get to work, I'm going to get to work at a certain time, which means just basically coming upstairs. And what my intent is for the day, and then kind of in my mind visualizing the day going as planned. Um,
hmm
like you said, visualizing your trip and all of that. And I've done that before with like, I went to the stage where the New Hampshire Conference for Women was going to be held, or where the stage would have been. And I was picturing it full of people and what it was going to look like. So I've done some of that, but um, so I always kind of knew like this is what my day was going to look like, with the end in mind,
Yeah.
reverse engineer. And then, but I found when I was writing things down, like, um, I am a badass business owner. Well, it just seemed odd to be writing it down because I have a pretty good ego about some stuff. So I'm like, I know I do a good job. Like it just seemed odd for me to be writing things down. And same with the and I appreciate that you write you write a list, you sit down and you write a list. I was finding for me that it just didn't feel authentic for me.
Yeah.
It felt forced. And I
Yeah.
guess the affirmations and the intentions felt forced to me. Because
Right.
I would write it down, I'd never look at it again.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm like, but I kind of felt that way about journaling too. Like if I'm taking time to journal, then I'm not being present in my life. And I don't, then I
Ooh.
realized they're not the same. Um, like if I
Right.
was like writing down like Dear Diary, if I was doing like a debrief of my day or something, like I wasn't enjoying, immersed in my life and doing that. So I've taken a different approach with the journaling. So you
Mm-hmm.
can see this is all a work in progress.
It is, but it always
But
is, though.
it is.
Yeah.
And we're
Yeah.
surrounded by people that have done these different modalities or whatever we want to call
Yeah.
them. And they all have different stories about it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna I'm gonna try it all at once and see how it goes. So I don't know. Um,
Right.
but I definitely feel calmer and like I'm not getting like some of that negative self-talk in my head that I was about certain things because I'm acting as if it's like, duh, it already
As
happened. Or it is
right.
happening. Like, I'm gonna
Right.
have X number of new members and I'm gonna do this. So I'm acting as if
As a
it's already part of my life. Not in a fake it till you make it kind of way. It's sort
no,
of
no,
like
no. But
this
it's
is
just
this
that.
is gonna happen,
Yep. Yeah. Well, my goals are written not as a goal, but as an intention. And that's this year's the first time I've done that. So the language is just a little bit different. And it feels so much more fluid than
Like, can you give us an example?
no, I can't right now.
Okay.
I can tell you, I sat down with Vicky last Friday and we went through them.
Yes. I'm really good at the set it and forget it kind of stuff. Like the vision board, I have been trying to every day incorporate a quick little guided meditation and looking at my vision board. And I'm
Yeah.
kind of doing like a twofer because my trampoline's usually there and I will jump on my trampoline and look at my vision board. Um,
I love that.
so, maximizing my time.
Right,
And
right.
but then I have all these other things through my Tony Robbins training, and I never look at them. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Leslie, why do you bother doing those if you're not going to look at them? So again, it's part of this. I'm trying to be more uh, respectful, I guess, or honor the different things that the people that have given me all this advice and the different
The
things I've
tools,
learned.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I've started this year is a monthly vision. So the beginning of the month, I kind of write like a big vision of kind of how I'd like the month ahead to go. And so I kind of keep it in my journal and I look at it. And it's really about what I want to experience, how I want to feel, a little bit of what I want to achieve. You know what I mean? Well, a good amount of that, but not like a to-do list. So, and
I was just
that's
I
been a
was just
fun.
looking because someone said they forgot about the Zoom. And she'll get the replay.
She'll get the replay.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, so I do know that I want to try to keep it to an hour. Sometimes we go over a little, but I, before we run out of time, Leslie, I want to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit. You have some upcoming events. And so I just want to give you the chance to kind of share a little bit about those because they're always a good time.
Oh, thank you. Well, I do have one coming up next week on May 25th, and it's a business roundtable, which the month of May is Small Business Month, and it's also the anniversary of Women Inspiring Women. So this year it turned 16. So I'm going back to the roots, which is bringing people together for conversation and community and talking business. Not that Women Inspiring Women is all about business, but um, there are a lot of women business
Because,
owners in the group.
right.
Or there's people working in a profession and starting a side gig or planning their next big thing. So I'm doing a business roundtable in Meredith, and that is May 25th. So, celebrating the anniversary, being in community and talking business, and and all of that. Then the other thing is our friend Randy Pierce. I have to look at the information here. On Wednesday, June 7th, Randy is going to be speaking at a dinner event for us called Beyond the Summit. And if anyone doesn't know Randy, Lisa knows him from UNH. And when he was, I think, 22, he became blind and he was in a wheelchair, and the odds were stacked against him. But he talks a lot about resiliency, determination, pushing beyond what you perceive are your boundaries and things like that. In his description, he also said gratitude and power and purpose. So that'll be a dinner event June 7th at Fratello's in Manchester. And Randy is one of the most amazing people. He's a mountaineer, he's a marathoner, and he's blind. And he does these amazing things. So
Really does.
Yeah. To watch him and learn about, I mean, anything is possible, really, if it's something you desire to do. So he's going to be talking a lot about that. So yeah. I'm inspired every time I hear him. So thanks for letting me share that.
Oh yeah, well, no, Brand, yeah. I mean, and your business roundtables are always a great
I do like to have a balance of business, personal development. Of course, there's fun sprinkled in everything that we do, because that's just a better way of living. Like, just show up and play and have fun and learn stuff. Yeah.
I want to open the floor so that if anybody has any questions or comments or even kind of aha moments or takeaways that.
I do.
Yeah, go ahead, Susan.
Have you heard of the blessing bracelet?
No.
Oh my goodness. I trained 3 students at the same time for the hypnosis certification. And they gave me this gift afterwards. And it's a blessing bracelet. It's got 4 beads on it. And you just do your gratitude on each bead every single day, as often as you want. And this is worldwide. I never knew it existed. They've got a huge website with more bracelets that you could pick from. And lo and behold, Hallmark just did a movie on it called The Blessing Bracelet.
No way.
Yeah. So
it's called The Blessing Bracelet, Susan?
Pardon?
The Blessing Bracelet?
The Blessing Bracelet. So I'll send you the website, and then you can send it off to the.
I would love to check out the website.
Yeah, I would love to check that out. Thank you, Susan. That's a fun little.
This whole thing about gratitude, I really started to recognize it when COVID hit, because I started writing a book. And as I was writing the book, I was reviewing my entire life. And I suddenly realized the gratitude's been following me all my life. And no matter what's happened, good or bad, it was meant to be, because I'm exactly where I want to be in my life right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the book, I'm dedicating it to my chemistry teacher from high school. I'm calling it Extraordinary Miracles from Ordinary People, Stories That Heal. And I've got about 30 stories so far. And so I'm dedicating it to him, because he pulled me aside my junior year and he said, Sue, you really should have a D for the year, but I know how much you want to be a nurse, so I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, and I'm giving you a C. And I got in, and his name was Mr. Soule, Soule. That is divine intervention, but I didn't recognize it till I started doing the book. And I had called him. I found him and I called him to thank him 20 some odd years later. And he started to cry. He said, Sue, nobody has ever called me to say thank you. He said, you have no idea what this call has meant to me. It's like, oh. But I've just been so grateful for everything. Like, my mother lived with me for 12 years until she died at 101 and a half. And with her there, we spent our whole time laughing, because my mother was a consummate joke teller. I mean, her delivery was impeccable. And I'll tell you this story and then I'll be quiet. She was 100 years old and she had to go to the dentist, and oh God, she hated the dentist. Sue, you do your hypnosis. Okay. Well, she had lost one hearing aid down the garbage disposal. She thought it was a cookie. So that was gone. And the other one stopped working. She said, there's no way at 100 years old, I'm going to pay $500 to get it fixed. I'm screaming the whole script in her ear like this, literally screaming it. She zones out, comes out of it. Now I'm taking her down to the dentist. Now the dentist's name was Dr. Weiner. She'd never seen him before. I said, now, Mom, something really important I have to tell you before you go in there. You do realize this is going to be the first time you've ever had a wiener in your mouth.
Oh,
And
Sue, I love you.
she started to laugh. And she said, how could you do that to me? I said, well, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, does it? And she went in, and between the hypnosis and the laughter, she had her 2 front teeth drilled down and capped with no Novocaine.
Wow.
Wow.
So I talked, even though she's gone, of course, she's here with me. And every once in a while, a joke will come to me. Thanks, Ma.
Oh,
So-
well, thank you, Susan, for sharing your story about your book and the blessing bracelets. Thank you. I can't wait to check that out.
Yeah, I'm going to check it out too. Thank you,
Oh,
Sue. Does each
yeah.
bead mean something else? Something different?
I better get it done.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any thoughts they wanted to share or anything they wanted
Well,
to say?
I do think what Sue said is so correct, that everything in life is, even at its worst, is a lesson or a blessing, and that all roads lead to today. Like everything happens is,
Right.
well, Jim, everyone on your show has talked about that things just happen as they should, and there's something to take away from everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Plus that reminder to tell people that you're grateful for them.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's that thing that you reached out to that teacher and told him that. What a
Yeah.
difference that made. So you just never know how that message can really be exactly what somebody needs. Just
Absolutely.
taking that moment to be intentional, not only for being grateful for it, but letting the person know that, you are grateful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wendy. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I think that being intentional with sharing your gratitude to others is huge.
And
Yeah.
it's cyclical. I think when you do that, you feel good, they feel
Ex-
good, and then they tend to remember that made them feel good, so they do it. So kind of that whole good you put out in the world comes to you. And
Right.
I'm a big believer in that. I don't get into all the practices and the yoga,
Yeah.
meditation and stuff, but I do believe that, what you put out there does come to you. It may take a damn long time, but eventually it'll get there.
It does.
Well, like Randy even talked about that on his episode too, about things not being, and I don't remember the word he used, but shallow, I guess. Like if you're going to say thank you or I love you, like really mean it and really say it that way, instead of just, and it kind of goes with that whole flyby thing. Like, don't just like spew out the stuff just because it's, manners or routine or whatever. It's like really feel it and be present when you're doing that.
I know, kind of taking off from what Wendy was talking about. So I don't think of it as a gratitude practice, but maybe looking back on it, before COVID, working in my office space and the cubicles and all of our colleagues were in and out of the office. And I would do it in the neighborhood or with friends in town. I would get the I would take peanut butter jars or mason jars, and I would buy a bouquet of carnations and split it up. And one day put it on one desk, one day give a different batch to somebody else and a friend, and kind of, dispersing these flowers on a daily basis. And it was kind of like you were saying, Wendy, right? Like it's to kind of cheer them up or show my appreciation for them. But the delight that I took in cutting the flowers and the bow and, and every once in a while now, because, our office is, nobody's in there with any regularity except for the admin staff. And I'm like, oh, I really would like to do it, but I could put a little bouquet on somebody's desk on a Monday, and they may not be back in the office until like the following Friday, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And although now we've started going in on every Tuesday, so maybe I have a new plan. Now that I think about it, I could at least do it on a Tuesday, right? If I did so.
Right. I love that, Lisa.
Yeah, that was just one of those things that it was 27. There's a girl with MS who wrote a book about, so it was kind of like 27. I'll have to look it up. And Cami, I don't remember what it was called, but I loved kind of the whole notion that she had. So 27 gifts, I think is what it was called, but I don't know. I'll look it up.
That sounds familiar.
Mhm.
So anybody else have any thoughts or things that they wanted to share? Anybody? I just thank you guys for being here,
Thank you.
for being active participants and sharing. These are one of my favorite things to do.
Well,
So
thank you for doing this
Yes.
cup of gratitude, Lisa. This is really wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
well,
you.
thank you for being here, Leslie. And
Yeah.
It's good to see you, Leslie.
Nice to see you, Sue.
I'm going to.
Yes.
I love storytelling. Oh,
Yeah.